Welcome to Edge Radio Australia and the Greater Wealth, this fantastic show with this fantastic fella who brings us amazing information where we talk about the great collision between, well, I'm going to call it the wealth industry. I'm not sure. I know who's involved in the industry and who's not. I mean, I know, for argument's sake, Albo, he's not involved. Right? Okay? He's not in any way, shape or form. And, of course, the great clash with politics as well. It is great to see you from Blue Sky Factory, Derek Whitaker.
It's always good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Now, today we're going to be pretty local, aren't we? We're going to be staying in the zone here. So, looking at the subject matter of today, there's three things you want to talk about, mate. What do you want to get off your chest?
I want to talk about the three strikes on the Australian economy. Okay. And it's got entrepreneurs annoyed, it's got investors annoyed,
really
it's got a lot of people concerned. And if you hang around to the end, I'm going to talk about one that most people aren't waking up to but have to, and it's going to affect everyone across the board.
Right.
Okay, so stick around to the end because that one I really want to hone in on.
You're holding the anticipation. I like that. I like that a lot.
The first one, it's going to be interesting if you can hold yourself back on the whole political front here, Aaron.
That is not possible. I don't know. Have you met me before? I'm a tad shy, especially when it comes to politics.
Let's see if he can do it, guys. Let's see if he can hold back. Or not.
I'm up for the challenge. Hang on.
Deep breath.
I'll talk to the big guy in the corner. I'll get my zen. We'll be fine. All right, mate. Well, let's talk about it. The elephant in the room. Well, thank God he's not in this room, but he has got 47% of it.
Tax changes. The big one that's got a lot of that speech that the Treasurer did a few weeks ago, Chalmers, is
was it a speech? Was it?
Well, it was an announcement or whatever. It's got people annoyed on a few fronts. One, it looks like that they didn't keep their promise.
That's right.
Two, they haven't made such huge changes an election issue and let the people decide on this sort of stuff. They've gotten in through midterm.
When you have an election, you've got, if you're going to come through with such a massive mandate of change, then you take it to the people. It's called democracy, right?
That's the argument.
That's the argument.
That's what they're doing. And we're seeing the popularity move to One Nation, and
no doubt.
It's interesting where the coalition is in this position because, I mean, they're fighting on two fronts now. One, they're trying to get the swing voters back from Labor to them, and secondly, they're trying to stop the leakage to One Nation of the business community who feel unrepresented. So it's really interesting times, exciting times from that perspective. And I think the exciting part of it is people are waking up going, yeah, socialism doesn't work. But this proposal of capital gains tax is really got a lot of people concerned, particularly because Australians have built so much on the property market. And I'll get into the property market in detail because that'll be the second one. But the capital gains tax is a big, big annoyance.
It's a huge problem, mate.
Because the whole issue of not being able to negative gear on properties is big. The issue of not getting that 50% capital gains tax free after you've taken the risk. And this is a thing that people don't realise, okay? I know taxation sounds boring, but guys, you've got to realise that revolutions have been fought. Bloodshed's been over tax.
Little Boston Tea Party, I believe.
Exactly. 4th of July. United States, the whole revolution of going into capitalism, they fought over taxes. And I think this is what people often ignore. If you don't get that 50% capital gains tax, because think about it, that's money you've already paid tax on.
Exactly. Okay. Right. Yep.
So you've gotten your income from somewhere, it's been taxed from income tax. Now you risk that you want to see your money work and grow for you. And now you're risking it. And then bang, you're not getting the 50% capital gains tax anymore.
That's right.
What are you left with, right? If it goes into the positive. Now, this is like a 30% aggregated thing with inflation.
Sure.
But gosh, you're leaving a lot of money on the table.
You really are. And the word that you've used a couple of times, and I'm so glad you have, is risk.
Yeah.
Right? These things to put your money on platforms, on property, on whatever it happens to be, all of these things to try and make gains, they all have a risk.
Yep.
Okay, you are rolling the dice. Now, education, and which makes a big deal. I mean, obviously that's what, a lot of things you do at Blue Sky is literally educate people. But, fundamentally, if you're taking that risk, you deserve a reward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the government, when it taxes, has taken no risk in that.
That's right.
They're just entitled to it.
And why in Australia particularly do we have this just acceptance of tax?
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
No, it shouldn't be.
And I'm wondering how long they'll push it because they're not backing down from this.
No.
Right.
No.
They're standing and doubling down. How far is the business community going to allow them to go? And I think that's the real big deal about this, because if you look at the 30% tax on family trusts, now family trust structures are one of the most basic family entity structures that small, medium enterprises uses to feed their families, right? To one, give them asset protection, two, the ability to minimize their tax. And if they destroy that, what they're proposing is that they just have a flat 30% on any income coming in, right?
Crazy.
They're trying to bring it in alignment with company tax.
Yeah, okay.
And I see the pattern here. If you look at what they did last year for superannuation funds that are over 3 million, it was a 30% tax rate. So you see the pattern here.
The number keeps sort of appearing, doesn't it? Yeah.
So
there seems to be a good reason for it.
It's a concern, because you look at who is employing Australians. It's the general biggest employers, small, medium enterprise.
Now, you say that, but geez, the Albanese government are having a red hot go at changing that. And they really are. I mean, when you look at now how many people are reliant on the government in one way or another for income, it is ridiculous.
Well, the public service is blown out.
It's huge.
Incredible numbers.
It's completely over the top.
The biggest employers in Sydney is the public service.
Yeah.
And most people don't realise this. So who's paying for that? Well, the Australian taxpayer and small businesses. And that's where they're trying to crack in while they keep spending and spending.
Spot on. The bigger this and the bigger that pool is, the more money you need, obviously. And this is where this money grab keeps going. We do not need, I mean, this is the thing, like, okay, the fundamentals of different parties. I'm all for a party that's got far less government interference. We want small government. But the problem with socialism, okay, with the Australian Labor Party, the Greens, all those sorts of things, and the Greens, there's been a couple of interesting things have happened in the last week on that front. But fundamentally, being socialist, they want more and more control, obviously, and that has to take away. What they need to do is diminish the private sector, the smaller players, and gain control that way and through the public, through the government work.
Well, I think the big thing is people feel like they're losing their freedoms. I mean, what's the incentive now to build wealth? That's what they're feeling. If you're going to hit me with that much, you create a system that's that hard.
Yeah.
Why am I playing in this game? And this is what we're watching. I mean, talking to a lot of accountants, and the feedback on the ground is that a lot of the entrepreneurs who have an appetite for risk, and let me just say this about entrepreneurs before I get into the next point, is that most employees don't realize the risks employers take, business owners take.
Huge.
They put the next generation's wealth on the line in many cases. When you see, a local business that's gone bust, I feel for that. That's some family business that's gone out of business.
That's right.
How much money and heart and time they've poured into that, and they couldn't make it for whatever reason. They took that risk. They had to go.
Sure.
Where's the support for them? Right.
Look, there's a local business that I've been dealing with lately, and they've lost $600,000 in 2 years.
Yeah.
600,000. Now that's kids' inheritance. That's schooling. That's all that sort of thing. That's giving them a deposit into their first home. All of that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And people might be tall poppy about it and go, well, they had 600,000. No, they didn't. I mean, they leveraged the hell out of themselves and put themselves at great risk of going broke.
And even when they get bigger, like the Gomez and Guzman chain that's going on, they had to go in the US market. Right. They lost over 100 million in that.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was a big call. They were trying to sell Mexican food to Americans.
It's a big call.
That's a big call.
Huge.
But yeah, that's 100 million they've got to wipe off.
Now, on your point, though, you were just talking about as far as, entrepreneurs, local businesses, people who are now making the decision, look, it's just getting too hard, because it is getting too hard.
So I've been talking to a lot of accountants on that.
Yeah.
And they're getting so many inquiries on, I'm out. I'm leaving Australia. I'm going to go somewhere else where it's easier. And the biggest gripe that you have from entrepreneurs is, one, there's too much tax, and two, there's too much red tape. That's what I used to hear. Yeah. And what we're hearing now is, I mean, even my wife's, local makeup lady around the corner saying, I'm out of here. I'm going back to Israel to run a business there. So, that's where she's originally from. These are migrants that are coming here to give it a go.
Yep.
You've also got situations where, I'm hearing, people who help people, accountants, that it's very specialised, who help them to go overseas and get out of the Australian taxation system. Maybe got 1 or 2 calls a week. They're getting like 5 a day now.
So the figure that was thrown my way the other day is, we're actually doing a show with the Ordinary Guy, and he was saying that he had just heard the figure that apparently 1 million millionaires are leaving Australia per week.
Yep.
Whoa. Now, I do realise, it's
1 million in how many? 100?
No. 1 million millionaires. Okay, 1 million people.
Wow.
Now, when you see the population going up and the population being replaced, the people with wealth are leaving, and the people with no wealth are coming in. And that, guess what that means? That means more taxes, mate. And a lot of damage to our communities, to our culture.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The social impact is going to be huge. And, generally, traditionally in Australia, if you came in because there was a need in the marketplace for, like we need builders right now. And the word that I've heard is not bringing in builders.
No, what we need now, okay, is NDIS centres, apparently. That's what we need. All of them, millions of them. It's such a rort. I mean, I'm seeing these places, NDIS written all over. And again, I want to just make very clear, obviously, I want people who have disabilities to be looked after. That makes, that goes without saying.
Of course.
It's a shame that you have to make that disclaimer, but I don't like the system being scammed as it is. And it really is. There's a place I know, it's a daycare centre that I've never seen a child at. Okay, NDIS written all over it. And that is us being taken for a ride. We've seen this happen, obviously, in Minnesota, in America. We've seen this happening in, what's that place in Sydney, Lakemba, which is very clear, and very obvious that's what's going on. We're seeing it happening all around Australia. These are your taxpayer dollars. This is what you're working for. This is, the future you're trying to build for your children. So, if people who are the entrepreneurial types, the people who are happy to take those risks are disappearing from this country, guess what's left behind?
Yeah, exactly. People who haven't taken that risk, haven't taken that appetite. And you've got to understand too, it takes time to build a business.
Of course it does.
Right?
Yeah.
The first 2 years are often not profitable. It's money going back into the business to scale and grow if you're talking straight up from scratch. And that's a big concern because then they leave. How long does it take for other businesses to come in, gear up, and go from there?
There's a gap, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
And what does that do to employment? It affects how many people, Australians, can be employed.
That's right.
It's clearly been made, these decisions, by people who've never run a business before.
No doubt about it.
And don't understand how the economics works.
Well, if they've always been in a bubble, and this is the problem we do, especially with modern day life with algorithms, okay? We all live in our bubble to a big extent. And this is why in my life, I find it very important. I have several, for argument's sake, YouTube accounts. I've got one that's left wing, one that's right, one that's centrist. I've got one for every occasion.
What will I be today?
Yeah, what am I in the mood for?
It's going to be neutral.
It's going to be neutral. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to go and float between them and see the same information completely flipped.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
But we've got to do it to an extent. I mean, that's the world we live in. And where I'm going on this is our politicians who are making these rules that we live by and the taxation that we live by, they live in one very particular bubble. One bubble. And when we talk about specifically if we talk about the Canberra bubble, let's just put this in perspective. I'll talk about something controversial as far as the voice to parliament vote. Okay? Everywhere around Australia was no. Yep. One place it was yes.
Yep.
So one place is wanted division on the colour of your skin, and your ethnic background. But the rest of Australia said, hey, no, we like it as it is and we like what we're doing.
Yep.
It just, to me, that was such a thank you, Anthony Albanese, for showing just how disattached to reality the people who are working theoretically for us are.
Oh, it's crazy. And how much they've lost attachment to the farmers on the land.
Oh, man.
That really got me.
So
watching how the farmers are like, this is nuts. This is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Farmers, please, people have got to get out there and they've got to have a look and they've got to see just how hard this life can be. And you want to talk about risk, be a farmer.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. How much is left of the weather elements? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And what is interesting about this is it's not attracting investment to this country. And Albanese has done a deal with the United States for superannuation by, I think, 2033, don't quote me, to have superannuation accounts being invested in the US economy and US markets.
Okay.
So, other people are looking at this in terms of the property sector and going, do we really want to invest in Australia as far as property is concerned? Which leads to the second strike on the Australian economy, which is the change in the property market.
Of course, let's talk about this because, look, Australia, we're very unique when it comes to the property market.
Yeah.
We just think about it completely differently to just about every other country I've ever heard.
Australians have built wealth on property. I used to work in the high-end law accounting financial planning firms, and that was where most Australians had built their wealth, was over property and just the buy and hold and just collect the rent every week and watch it go in capital growth. What the issue is, if they rule out negative gearing for established properties, now they've said that they'll have negative gearing on new builds, and what is right now, they'll grandfather what was happening back in May.
Sure.
So The issue is that if you now buy a property that's already established, you're not going to be able to negative gear it. This causes major problems, particularly for areas like Sydney, where the property price is so high. If you can't negative gear that, you've got a lot of equity to come into that loan, and then receiving the rent, so it's positively geared. Which actually makes sense.
And there's your point. So if you positively gear it, the rent's got to be higher. Okay, it's got to cover that massive capital cost.
Well, or why would you do the deal?
Spot on, right? Now, what's it going to do? That pushes rents up. That pushes people out.
But they are concerned about rent rises. But I look at it from an investment perspective. You go, why would I when there's other asset classes that are outperforming property now? So it'll be a big, interesting thing how that shakes up the whole real estate market. What the concern is, of course, is now you've got a situation in some parts of Sydney where they're 20% down at the peak from the peak. So those who got in at the peak have negative equity in their properties. And a lot of Australians are, with the cost of living, consolidating their debts of credit cards and small loans into the mortgage. And again, that could compound to be negative equity if you'd have to sell your house in a hurry for any reason.
Of course it can be. It really, really can be.
Not to mention no relief in terms of state taxes on stamp duty for buying a property.
Great news, mate. Great news. Okay, everybody, sit down, get comfy for this one, because apparently now in at least one state, and it's going to grow, it's going to be, traveling off to other states, is if you are a victim of domestic violence, you don't pay stamp duty.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to see, is this going to be a bit like when they took away the need for evidence in domestic violence, right? And it went up 400% in one day? I'm wondering, because I'm telling you right now, if you're going to buy a property, get yourself some domestic violence, right? Tongue in cheek. But it's just it is so, I mean, it's wrong on every level.
And it's wrong even from a social level. Correct. It's wrong because you're encouraging people to break up for the sake of saving some stamp duty dollars and taxes. That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, it's not the intention of taxation. It's
social engineering is what it is. Absolutely.
From a welfare perspective, I can see it, but it's going to have the wrong result.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about, why would you move and invest in Sydney? We're seeing a lot of movement away from that state. And what the big concern is that you're going to get into what we currently have in Australia is what we call a decentralized real estate market.
Okay.
So you've got a lot of small real estate agents around the place.
Yep.
They might be franchised in that, but usually it's 10, 15 people working in that agency.
They're a small business.
Right. And you see that spread around. If you start moving away the incentives for investors to negatively gear, what you could potentially do is open the market to big multinationals moving in. They don't care about negative gearing because they've got so much capital to cover that anyway.
Yep.
And what you could then move into is losing small real estate brokers, moving into big property management. And of course, if you've got monopolies controlling the real estate landlord market, they can do price rises in terms of rents and all that sort of stuff.
Let me throw you an example, my friend. So this is not a go at any particular organisation because I don't know the ins and outs of it. I just know the basics here, so work with me. But Lend-Lease, a massive, massive holder of real estate in Australia, they have made a big part of their run forward and their wealth plan is to buy as many retirement places and homes and all that sort of aged care facilities, all of that, as they possibly can. Now, they now own the greatest majority in Australia. Absolutely huge. They're becoming a monopoly, just like Bunnings became a monopoly. Remember when the prices were good at Bunnings? I do, because there was other alternatives.
Yep.
Now the prices have all gone up. Now, why do I bring up that? Because aged care is a massive issue in Australia. We're all getting older. We're living longer, and that's where we're ending up. Okay, the kids are going, no, I'm not going to do the hard work. I'm going to throw them in a home.
Well, some of them economically can't. They can't quit their job and look after mum and dad that way as well.
Very good point, mate. It's a bit of a wide brush, that one. I mean, I don't know. From I suppose because I know that my parents, forget that. My kids won't put me in a home. They'll dig a hole and push me in. But I know the real lay of the land for me. But it's such a big part of society. And if that happens and there's a monopoly there and the cost goes so high, well, guess where all that super goes? It goes to look after, and it's to me it's a terrible, just a circle of life, if you like, of the destruction of the society, of community, the lack of community, and again culture. And if we've just got this culture of big business will take over, well, then we're owned, aren't we?
Yeah, it's a big concern, and it could shake up the entire real estate market. So. I went to a home open just the other day. Somebody moved in,
Right.
and the young kids, and they got this house is about 1.1 million, right? And you're going, this is for how many couples can actually get in and afford that, especially in their 20s and 30s, right?
Yeah.
It's just so what I think will happen is I wonder, this is me, I'm not a real estate expert per se, but I wonder if we're going to get into multi-generational dwellings in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes more of an attractive play where you have a bit of a bigger lot, but you've got a couple of generations living there. We've kind of got it in the form of the granny flat.
Yeah, sure. Derek, have you been reading my emails?
No. I'm sending it out. I'm not on your database, mate.
That's right. I literally
sign me up.
Subscribe. While you're there, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Why not? Give it a go. Like and subscribe. And actually, we've got a comment up here that I'd like to address in just a moment, if we may. But on the you completely thrown my train of thought there. Sorry.
Emails. Been reading emails.
Reading
multinational homes.
No, but a friend of mine.
Yeah.
They've got a lovely home that they've just gone and done the maths, and they go, look, our daughter's doing really well. She's got a great job. She's moving well in life, but ultimately, how is she ever going to get into the game? So they are converting their house into a multi-generational home. They're splitting it, and that's what they're doing. They're setting it all up. They're adding a couple of rooms because they realise that this is the only way they can actually give their daughter and they've got one. So you think about how many families have got multiple children, okay, because kids are expensive. Don't know if you've noticed. You know. But
they don't stop eating.
No, they don't stop eating. They don't.
My second office is the grocery store.
That's right. So just jumping to Inferno Insomnia, lovely comment there. I think I know who that is. So Taz, hope my kids won't put me in a home. I hope they don't too.
It'll be nice to them.
Yeah, be nice to them. You look after them, let's face it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be firm, disciplined, and all that sort of stuff. Be good to them.
Yeah. But that great balance between being a parent and a friend. Okay? Be a friend enough that they'll put you in a nice home.
As they get older, you become more of a friend.
Oh, very much so. All right, mate. Sorry, I didn't mean to take you off the channel either.
So, there are big changes, I think, if this goes through in the property market. And we've got to hasten to say that none of this is law yet, okay? I think they're probably testing a little bit about how the market responds to this, but they've been doubling down. And as I said earlier, they're kind of in the corner. I think the third part, the big third strike on the Australian economy that people can't see yet and they need to wake up to it is the AI industrial revolution. And I'm calling it an industrial revolution because AI, I don't know if you've seen it in the last 6 months, it's gotten so much better. And you've got to understand this thing is not static. It is fluid. It is always learning, always growing, always advancing. It's very much, I just did a seminar on it and on how AI works, how it's going to affect the business market, and offering solutions for business owners and professionals who really do this. What we believe, and I've been talking to someone who owns an AI company as well. And I say, look, AI is not going to put people out of work. The jobs will go to those who know how to use AI.
Sure.
That's the difference. Sure. Okay. So if you don't use AI, you're employed or you're a business, you've got to ask yourself, will your services still be needed in the future? And there are a lot of changes on the horizon that Australia is not prepared for at all. We do not have the infrastructure because it takes incredible energy to run an AI centre.
Spot on.
And windmills don't produce it, unfortunately.
Can't we just run it off, like off wind and solar and hopes and dreams?
Yeah, well,
surely
set up an exercise bike and we'll get to it, right?
Well, I'll be fit in no time.
But what's really interesting is Deloitte's, which is the big accounting firm, has come out and basically highlighted that there are 81 jobs that they think are really going to be threatened in Australia in particular.
All right, Derek, list them all.
81 of them?
No.
There's a lot of them. But the one word that keeps coming up, which I look at, especially in the first 10 to 13, is managers.
Wow.
Right? It really thinks that AI is going to disrupt occupations like managers, corporate service managers, human resource managers, engineering managers, production managers, supply distribution, procurement managers. That's just the first 5. And then management again in number 6, commissioner officers managers, 7 licensed club managers, 8 other accommodation hospitality managers, 9 retail managers.
There's an awful lot of
and number 10,
class.
amusement, fitness and sports center managers. So it's suggesting that AI, you won't need that middle management anymore to do what you've got to do.
Look, the toothpaste is out of the tube. It's out. If you don't embrace it, you're going to be left behind. And as much as I've got my reservations, okay, even though we use AI here, but I've got my reservations. I mean, when the motor car came along, people were freaking out about horses. You know, you retrain, you change, and that's what we'll do. We'll adapt. But this is a little bit different. This will take a lot of people out of the workforce, okay?
Well, if you look at the history of the Industrial Revolution, what it did, I think it'll follow very similar patterns.
I agree, actually.
To what actually occurred.
Yep.
You had major opposition to it. You had people actually being doubled down and ostracized and hung and prosecuted for it.
Sure.
You had big social change where people were moving off the countryside into cities, which then developed into slums. You did have an emergence of the middle class. There was a greater distribution of wealth in those periods. Then you had more legislation coming in terms of child labor and all this sort of stuff. So AI being one that recognizes patterns, if we look at history, if we look at the pattern of history, it kind of shows how this may play out.
See, I'm going to disagree with you on that one because I think, well, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. My point is what you've just listed about management. I think that AI is going to damage the middle class more than anything else. I don't think it's about, sorry, I didn't mean to misinterpret you, but I think that's where the damage is going to be done. And I think that's why there's so much political, and well, I'm going to use the word desire because certainly the decisions that are being made, it looks like there's a political desire to destroy it.
Well, given the legislation on investments and all that sort of stuff, yeah, you see that concern. You also got to ask, are the people who are making these decisions actually qualified to make them? Sure. Have they run a business before? Have they actually spoken to people in the business community, or do they not care? And I think that's what a lot of business owners are saying. They don't care about us.
They don't care.
Sounds
like
a song.
Yeah. Play some Michael Jackson's thing, right? But it's a great point. Again, it rolls back to that when you've got a class of people who've never run businesses, don't understand it. Business is it is the center point of society in so many ways, right? And if we're not promoting people being entrepreneurial, if we're not promoting people to actually provide and build wealth and housing and that build that middle class for other people, because not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to own their own business. Some of them, the people are very smart because it's a lot of work and you don't get a lot of sleep. So you choose the lifestyle that suits you. But it's the flow-on effect. Okay, the people who would normally be employees, they're going to have their lives damaged really, really strongly as well.
So I think it's part of a question with AI. How do I become the disruption?
Yeah. Okay.
How can I be in the flow of the disruption? How can I respond?
Derek, how does that happen? Tell me.
Well, I've just produced an entire seminar on that, and I'll put that in the show notes. Or I've actually sent you the link there, so you can put it in the show notes and allow people access to that, because the critical, information and the time to prepare is now. Not in 6 months, not in 12 months, because the AI is going to get better. We're at a tipping point with AI. It's just gotten really, really good, okay? But in the next 6 months, the next versions are going to roll out. If you don't know it now, it's going to be harder to get into it and learn it at that point.
Agreed. I see the way it's actually changing this business here, changing the way that we get our stories across and to people. It is a genuine game changer. And I was very hesitant to start with. I genuinely was, and I still am hesitant because I like human interaction. I think it's really important. I want people to have jobs, but at the same time, I've also seen the massive acceleration in the quality of it.
Well, yes, and Elon Musk has been said. I've got video footage of him saying you will not need a surgeon in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
because AI will do the job better than a surgeon will.
Well, that's right.
And everybody will have access to healthcare that is better than the president currently gets. So we will have humanoid robots by the end of next year, 2027. Now, when he says we, I'm wondering if he's talking about his group of companies, because the Chinese companies have already brought one out. You can get a humanoid robot for about 13,000 US.
Yep.
In case you were wondering, do some jobs around the place. But I hear you. We're kind of walking into it with a bit of trepidation, wondering what are we walking into here? What are the changes? It's the unknowns. What are we let out of the box, the Pandora's box here? And I hear you. And I think even the AI curators don't know, and they're a bit concerned. And we've got to address this. But they're also saying, what are the upside benefits? And I think what AI is going to do is it'll rise up and overreach not only into business but also in the investment space as well.
Okay.
So the key is, and we're teaching people on both sides, whether in your business or whether you're on the investment side of things, how to be prepared. That's what we're saying, time of action is now.
Yeah, okay. Thoroughly agree with you. So let's look at it from a financial point of view, as an investment point of view.
Mm-hmm.
What are the changes you can make to your life right now in an investment world using, say, AI, or just embracing that train of thought?
Well, it's actually looking at what AI is going to be run on,
mm-hmm.
and the rails towards that.
Remember, it's wind and solar, mate. It's all wind and solar. It's going to be fine.
It's kind of like this: when the gold rush was on.
Yeah.
Okay. Who made more money?
Well, I believe it was those selling the picks and the shovels.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it was the guys down at the general store who were selling the jeans, selling the hats, selling the picks and shovels that you've highlighted, rather than the speculators who made more consistent income. So that's one area. Yep. The other big thing is you've got to recognize the legislation that's changing in the United States right now. You know, the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, which is going through the process. These are major pieces of legislation on how the banks work, how the financial system works. And it's all on the hush-hush. People don't want you to know about this. Yeah. But the opportunity to make generational making wealth is there. So this is not a time and era to be going, oh, it's all bad. How do I prepare and get into defense mode?
Yep.
There's actually times to go, you know what, there's massive opportunity here. Let's go. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going
so
all
glad
out.
You said that. Because, look, all of this can be very overwhelming. It can really be that way. By the way, thank you for the people who have sent comments through. Unfortunately, some of them, I got the little sign telling me that they are on the other platforms. So I think Taz for sending her comment through, really appreciate that. But, the other ones we'll have to look at later on. The way you can always get your questions through or your comments is the easiest way is in the last 30 days, if you put them through the Edge Radio Australia Facebook page, and they'll last forever. Well, at this stage, if you go through YouTube and do the odd like and subscribe thing. So it's a great way of being interactive, because at the end of the day, I mean, we're doing this because we want everyone to raise up. Huh?
I want people to prosper.
Yeah,
I really do. And the game's changed with the powers to be.
That's right.
And you've got to pivot in business and go, okay, and everyone's in a different lane. Everybody's in a different position. We can deal with people who are starting out right through to people who are well seasoned at this.
Yeah.
It's go time though.
Yeah. Well, from a personal standpoint, just my honest thoughts is just come and see this man. Talk to him. You don't have to get into something that's very, very detailed. Get into something that's sort of an introductory, if you like.
Yeah.
Open your eyes up to what the opportunities are and go with that. And blueskyfactory.com.au. No E.
No.
Get on board. No. All right, mate. Any closing thoughts?
Be excited.
Be excited.
Be excited. Embrace the change, because if you don't, you're going to be in a very difficult position later. But you don't have to. Go in cautiously, in the sense of we always are assessing risks. That's the whole beauty of investment is risk. But once you can reduce the risk by actually upping your education, and that's the key point, because the more you know, and then you apply wisdom. There's knowledge, and then there's wisdom. You apply that combination. It puts the odds in your favor.
Excellent, mate. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you for all of the wisdom that you bring here each and every week. It's Greater Wealth here on Edge Radio Australia.